Manchester United vs Man City Live Premier League updates. Follow all the action as Manchester United host Manchester City in the Premier League in a derby that could decide Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's future. The beleaguered head coach somewhat alleviated the pressure on his position with victory over Tottenham last weekend, which saw one of the main contenders to replace him, Antonio Conte, instead take the helm at Spurs. A 2-2 draw at Atalanta did little to ease concerns over Solskjaer's tactical acumen, though, with Cristiano Ronaldo's last-gasp intervention once against saving United's blushes. The Norwegian will have to contend with problems in defense too, with Raphael Varane ruled out and Harry Maguire out of form. City, meanwhile, recovered their momentum during the week in a 4-1 thrashing of Club Brugge. Pep Guardiola's side had endured a difficult past week up until that point, having been knocked out of the Carabao Cup on penalties before suffering a shock 2-0 defeat by Crystal Palace at the Etihad. That defeat left City 5 points behind leaders Chelsea, and they can ill afford to cede any more ground in the title race. Follow all the action live below. The teams are at Old Trafford, kick-off coming up in this huge Manchester derby. Before kick-off, both teams will pause, and Old Trafford will fall silent ahead of Remembrance Sunday, as well as a moment of silence for Walter Smith. Both Solskjaer and Guardiola lay wreaths at the touchline. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has won 4 of his 8 meetings with Pep Guardiola, which is the best record of any manager with a minimum of 4 matches against the Spaniard. Some of those wins have ranked amongst Solskjaer's best days in charge of United, such as the 2 wins the Red Devils secured over City in 2019-20. In those games, United thrived on the counter-attack, sitting back in their 3-5-2 formation and hitting with pace on the break. Indeed, before United's 3-0 win at Spurs last weekend, the last time United had played a back 3 under Solskjaer was the 2-0 win over City at Old Trafford in March 2020. Can Solskjaer repeat the trick today? Imagine if Ronaldo had been lining up for Manchester City at Old Trafford today. For a few hours at least, back in August, that thought looked as if it might have come to fruition. Since returning to United, it seems as if everything has revolved around the 36-year-old. His goals have kept them in the Champions League and are perhaps keeping Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in a job. But despite the late goals, the inevitable heroics, there are understandable questions about whether his presence in the United team makes them weaker overall. Either way, as Miguel Delaney writes, everything will revolve around Ronaldo once again this afternoon. Ronaldo has been United's problem and problem solver, and so much of Saturday's derby will depend on the talisman who's repeatedly rescued Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's side this season. It's notable that Jadon Sancho not featuring in United's starting lineup is barely even a talking point ahead of kick-off. Few would have predicted that when the 21-year-old sealed his long-awaited move to United this summer from Borussia Dortmund for a fee of around £80 million. Sancho's starting the Manchester derby would also have been an intriguing subplot, given his history with City. But, as Mark Critchley writes, the winger is still searching for the right role as his frustrating start to his Old Trafford career is set to continue, unless he is able to make an impact from the bench today. Sancho in need of regular minutes and a suitable tactical role in order to kick-start United career. Solskjaer on his team selection. I always thought Lindelof was going to make it, but we've had a couple of issues since Italy. Cavani was one of them. Marcus Rashford was only cleared this morning, but he has made the bench of hopefully, if he needs to, can come on. Mason Greenwood has been one of the big pluses this season. It's a big chance for him. We know it's going to be a difficult one and we have to be at our best. Manchester United stick with their back 3, with Victor Lindelof passing a late fitness test to start alongside Harry Maguire and Eric Bailly, who keeps his place from midweek. Marcus Rashford drops to the bench, while there is no Edinson Cavani in the squad. Rashford has been ill for a couple of days, so Mason Greenwood gets the nod. As reported by Miguel Delaney, there's no Jack Grealish in the City starting lineup. It looks like Kevin De Bruyne will lead the line, with perhaps Phil Foden taking Grealish's spot on the left. John Stones comes in for the suspended Aymeric Laporte, while Raheem Sterling still has to make do with a spot on the City bench. Manchester United, De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Bailey, Maguire, Shaw, Fred, McTominay, Fernandes, Greenwood, Ronaldo. Manchester City, Ederson, Walker, Diaz, Stones, Cancelo, Rodri, Gundogan, Bernardo, De Bruyne, Jesus, Foden. Wow. Jack Grealish has been dropped by Pep Guardiola for the Manchester derby, according to The Independent's Miguel Delaney. The only Premier League match Grealish hasn't started for City since arriving for a British transfer record fee this summer was the 2-0 win over Burnley on October 16. The England international has gone 8 matches without a goal for the Premier League champions in all competitions. We'll bring you more as we get it. Make no mistake, though, Pep Guardiola's Manchester City also come into this afternoon's derby facing some pressure, following last weekend's 2-0 home defeat to Crystal Palace. You have to go back to December 2018 for the last time City lost back-to-back Premier League matches, and if they were to lose again today, Manchester United would go level on points with them in the table. Team news coming up shortly. Will this afternoon be déjà vu for Manchester United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? 2 weeks ago, United went into a clash against one of their fierce rivals on the back of a late Cristiano Ronaldo goal against Atalanta, only for any hope that they had reached a turning point to be torn down in an embarrassing defeat. Concerns that Ronaldo's late heroics had papered over the cracks that were showing in United's performance, highlighted, among others, by Paul Scholes, were brutally exposed as Liverpool stormed to a shocking 5-0 win at Old Trafford. Ahead of this meeting with City, United and Solskjaer are pretty much back where they were a fortnight ago, with questions surrounding the team following the 2-2 draw against Atalanta on Tuesday night. Again, the warnings have followed. United can't expect to compete with City if they defend as they did in Bergamo. Will United have learned their lesson? Or will they continue to follow their weary script? If you haven't read it already, Mark Critchley's piece following this week's Atalanta draw perfectly encapsulates the circles that United continue to turn in. Cristiano Ronaldo yet again rescued his team as United continue to find sillier, stupider but always slightly different ways to win, lose and draw football matches, writes a weary Mark Critchley.